All right, so Mahindra Holidays and Resorts, India Limited,
MHRI.
MHRL, yeah.
Yeah.
You sent over a bunch of stuff, company announcements and investor presentations and their financials.
Yeah.
I feel like we're about to really get under the hood of this company.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack here for sure.
And that's kind of why I wanted to bring you in on this because, I get the basics of vacation ownership,
Sure.
but what's really jumping out at me at first glance is this kind of like contradiction of their revenue's up, profit is up, but new memberships are down.
Right.
How do we make sense of that?
Well, that's a good question because usually when revenue and profits are up, you would think that memberships are also up.
Right.
So that could signal a couple of things. Maybe some hesitation because of the general economic climate.
Okay.
Or maybe there's a shift in consumer preferences that's starting to happen.
Okay.
But we need to dig a little deeper to see what's really driving that.
Okay, well, here's another little curveball for you, and that is their average unit realization, AUR, is up 28% year over year, so fewer new members.
Right.
But those members are spending more.
Well,
What's the strategy there?
I mean, it's a pretty savvy move on their part.
Yeah.
It suggests that they might be focusing on attracting maybe higher value customers,
Right.
those that are looking for premium experiences or longer term commitments.
Okay.
And so that could be a way to maintain profitability,
Yeah.
even if you have fewer members coming in.
So instead of casting a wide net, they're kind of going for
Yeah,
quality over quantity.
exactly.
Got it. Okay.
And focusing on that segment. Yeah.
So what does that tell us about their long-term strategy?
Well, I mean, it could be a sign that they're really transitioning to a more premium segment of the market
Okay.
and focusing more on maybe personalized experiences and
Yeah.
high-end offerings. I
Okay.
mean, we'll see.
Interesting. Now, here's something else that jumped out at me. You know how I'm always obsessed with
Numbers.
the numbers, yes,
Yeah.
and their financial health. That is, they're debt free on a standalone basis.
Yeah,
That's not something you see every day,
it's not common.
especially in the travel industry. So what's the advantage there?
Well, it gives them a ton of strategic flexibility,
Oh,
especially in an environment that, there's a lot of economic uncertainty right now. So they're not burdened by debt obligations like maybe some of their competitors are. And that gives them the freedom to invest in new projects or acquire some interesting startups or even just weather some of the economic downturns, more easily.
Right. It's not just looking good on paper.
Yeah,
It's like having a war chest
it is.
ready to deploy
Mm-hmm.
when opportunity knocks.
Exactly.
They could be in a really good position to make some big moves when others can't.
Yeah. Yeah, and they might have to keep that competitive advantage.
Right, right. So let's talk about some of those moves. We have some visuals here that you sent over showing their inventory expansion projects, Club Mahindra, Ashtamudi, Varka, Kanha, Mashobra. These places look
They're beautiful.
amazing.
Yeah.
So what's the thought behind those additions?
Well, it shows that they're committed to diversification,
Right.
both in terms of locations, but also the types of experiences that they offer.
Okay.
They're going to newer, less explored destinations
Yeah.
and maybe catering to that demand for, more unique off the beaten path travel.
And they're giving their members, even those high value ones, more options,
Yeah, exactly.
more variety. I mean, it's like they're creating this whole ecosystem of vacation possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, they're not just building resorts, they're cultivating like a brand,
Yeah.
a lifestyle.
Right.
And
Okay.
these projects are part of that.
Okay, so I'm starting to get the bigger picture here, but let's not forget about their existing offerings.
Sure.
We have some information here on their Horizons Exchange program, which gives members access to this global network of partner hotels.
Right.
I mean, talk about options.
Yeah, and that's a clever way for them to offer, flexibility and global reach
Yeah.
without actually having to own and operate resorts in every corner of the world.
Right, right.
So it allows them to tap into a wider market of travelers that maybe aren't ready for full-fledged vacation ownership,
Yeah.
but are still looking for unique and curated experiences.
It's almost like a gateway drug to the full MHRAL experience.
Yeah, you get a little taste,
You get a little taste.
and then you want more.
Exactly. Yeah. So smart move. So they're expanding their physical footprint with these new resorts, offering global reach through partnerships,
Right.
and attracting that higher spending clientele. It's a multi-pronged approach to growth.
Yeah.
But is there a risk that they're spreading themselves too thin?
I mean, that's a valid concern.
Yeah.
Managing a diverse portfolio of offerings like that can be a challenge. It requires, a deep understanding of all those different markets and meticulous planning and, flawless execution.
Yeah, it's like juggling.
It is.
You can add more balls, but at some point,
you gotta be really good.
you're gonna drop one.
Exactly.
But here's the thing: they're also making this big push towards sustainability,
Right.
which seems to be a growing trend in the travel industry in general.
Absolutely.
They're part of the RE100 and EP100 initiatives, which is aiming for 100% renewable energy and increased energy efficiency.
It's becoming more and more common.
Yeah, so is that something that's really resonating with travelers today?
Absolutely. Consumers are becoming so much more conscious of their environmental footprint these days, and they're actively looking for travel options that align with their values.
Right.
And for MHRIL, embracing sustainability isn't just good for the planet, it's good for business. It attracts that growing segment of eco-conscious travelers, enhances their brand image.
Makes sense.
And potentially even reduces their operating costs in the long run.
So it's a win-win-win situation.
It is.
Good for the environment, good for their image.
Yep.
And potentially good for their bottom line.
Exactly.
Okay, well, let's pause here for a moment and connect all this back to you, the listener. What do you make of this trend towards experiential travel and sustainability?
Yeah.
Is it something that you prioritize when you're planning your vacations?
Yeah. Do you look for that?
Yeah. Does MHRL's approach align with your travel preferences?
You want to know?
We'd love to hear your thoughts. We'll be right back with more insights and analysis on MHRIL in just a moment. So, welcome back to our deep dive into MHRIL. We just talked about their multi-pronged approach to growth.
Right.
But how does it all fit into this bigger picture of the travel and leisure industry?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. MHRL is operating in an industry that's constantly evolving and being reshaped by some powerful trends.
I mean, one of the things you sent over talked about this surge in leisure travel, particularly in India.
Yeah.
It seems like people are really eager to make up for lost time after the pandemic disruptions.
Absolutely. And that pent-up demand is a huge tailwind for companies like MHRL.
Especially with that focus on family vacations.
Right. And it caters perfectly to that.
But it's not just about getting away anymore, right?
No, not at all.
Travelers are looking for something more.
They want experiences.
They want experiences, yeah.
Something unique.
Something unique and memorable.
Exactly. One of the key trends we're seeing is this shift toward experiential travel.
Okay.
People want to immerse themselves in local cultures, try new activities, create stories that they can share.
That makes total sense. And that's why MHRL is going beyond those traditional resorts with these curated vacations, the Club M Select program, even that Horizons Exchange program.
Exactly.
They're really tapping into that desire.
They are. They're crafting like a whole ecosystem of experiences that cater to all those different interests and travel styles.
Right.
It's a smart way to stay ahead of the curve.
Speaking of staying ahead of the curve,
okay,
let's go back to their commitment to sustainability for a minute.
Sure.
I'm curious. How are they actually incorporating those RE100 and EP100 goals into their operations?
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to make a pledge, but it's another to actually implement it.
Exactly.
So from what you've shared, it looks like they're transitioning to renewable energy sources at their resorts, adopting energy efficient technologies and practices.
Got it. And how are they communicating those efforts to their members and potential customers? Is sustainability becoming like a key selling point for vacation ownership?
It is, absolutely. I mean, more and more travelers are factoring sustainability into their decisions.
Like I said.
So they're highlighting their efforts through marketing campaigns, on-site initiatives, even partnerships with environmental organizations. So they're really showcasing that commitment to responsible travel.
Right. It's not just a feel-good initiative. It's a smart business move.
It's both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now to to get a sense of their long-term potential, let's take a quick look at their historical performance.
Okay.
We have some charts here showing their growth over the past decade.
Right.
And it's, I mean, their track record is pretty impressive.
It is. They've consistently grown their revenue, expanded their membership base, and maintained healthy profit margins.
They even navigated the pandemic remarkably well. I mean, they seem to be coming out even stronger on the other side.
They are, and don't forget, they have no debt.
Right.
So that provides a really solid financial foundation for future growth.
That financial stability, it gives them that flexibility to weather those economic storms and capitalize on new opportunities. But their revenue, it's not just coming from membership fees, is it?
No, it's not. They've done a really good job of diversifying their revenue streams. So they generate income from annual fees, resort spending, upgrades, referrals, even their exchange program.
So it's this multi-pronged approach.
It is.
That creates these multiple touch points with their members.
Right.
And strengthens those long-term relationships.
Yeah, it's like they've built this recurring revenue engine.
It really is. So by diversifying those revenue streams, they reduce their reliance on any single source.
Right.
And they create a more resilient business model.
Exactly.
Okay, well, let's pause here again for a moment and connect all of this back to you, the listener.
Okay.
What do you make of this trend towards experiential travel and sustainability?
Is it something you think about when you're planning your vacations?
Is it something that you prioritize?
Yeah.
Does MHRIL's approach align with your preferences?
We want to know.
All right, welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been talking all about Mahindra Holidays and Resorts India Limited, their performance, their strategy.
Right. Breaking it down.
But now we come to like the $1 million question, or I guess the $1 million rupee question.
Right, exactly.
In this case, is vacation ownership.
Is it here to stay?
Is it here to stay, or is it, just a fad?
Yeah, is it a trend, or is it a fundamental shift?
Right. And for you, the listener, what does all this mean for your own travel choices?
Right, where do you fit in?
Yeah, are you the kind of person who would see the value in this kind of model?
Yeah.
Or does it not really work for how you like to travel?
Yeah, because the travel industry is always changing.
Yeah.
But some of these shifts that we're seeing, they seem pretty big.
Yeah.
Like this whole desire for experiences over just ticking off destinations.
Yeah.
That seems like a real change.
It's not just about the where anymore. It's the why and the how.
It is, yeah.
And MHRL seems to be reflecting that, right? They're going beyond those resorts. They're curating experiences. I mean, that's pretty smart.
It is. And think about how tech companies built those ecosystems.
Okay.
It's not just one product, it's a whole world.
Yeah.
And MHRL seems to be taking that same approach.
Okay, that analogy, that really clicks for me. Yeah. But let's play devil's advocate for a second.
Okay.
What about the folks who love spontaneity?
Right.
Like the last minute flights, deciding on a whim where to go next.
Yeah. Does vacation ownership box you in too much?
Yeah. Does it take away some of that freedom?
Yeah, and for those who crave that ultimate flexibility,
Yeah.
it might not be the best fit.
Right.
But for others, the planning, the anticipation, having that home base to return to, that's part of the appeal.
Yeah, it's kind of like the difference between staying in a hotel versus having a vacation home. Different strokes for different folks.
Exactly.
But even for that spontaneous traveler, MHRL's exchange program could be pretty cool.
Yeah, that Horizons program, it's a good way to tap into that global network without the full commitment.
Yeah, dip your toe in the water.
Exactly. Just, test it out.
Right. So even within this model, there's some room for flexibility.
Right.
But let's be real. This kind of vacationing, it's not for every budget, right?
That's true. There is an upfront investment. There are ongoing fees.
Yeah.
You have to factor that in.
Yeah.
But maybe the better way to think about it isn't just cost, but value.
So you're saying if it aligns with your travel style.
Yeah.
If you're going to use it.
Yeah, will you actually use it?
Consistently.
Right.
Then maybe the cost is justified by the value that you get over the long term.
Yeah, that's the question each person has to ask themselves.
Right.
Does it fit my lifestyle, my travel goals, my budget over the years?
Right.
If the answer is yes, then the cost maybe isn't such a a big deal.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, the financials, the industry trends, even some philosophical questions about what makes a good vacation.
It did, yeah.
But what's the takeaway for our listener?
I think the takeaway is that the world of travel is changing, and companies like MHRL are changing with it.
Right.
And whether or not vacation ownership is right for you,
yeah,
that's a personal decision.
You got to decide that.
But understanding these trends can help you make a more informed choice.
Exactly. It's about being aware of the options,
right?
Seeing how these companies are adapting,
right?
And then deciding what really fits your own travel goals
and what you want out of it.
And who knows, maybe this deep dive has sparked some vacation inspiration for you.
Yeah.
Oh, happy travels.